fast cats in the global energy business. We're much leaner, more agile, and a lot more innovative than the other cats. And that's why to a fast cat, anything is possible. Think big, move fast, Conoco.
Remember when walking on the moon was as unbelievable as fat-free potato chips? Well, now we have lots of things we thought were too good to be true. Portable computers everywhere. Cloning has become a reality. We even have a pill that makes old men hotter than Phoenix in July. And to top it off, now you can get all your long-distance calls for only 99 cents.
That's right. With 1010-220, it's only 99 cents for all calls up to 20 minutes, and just 7 cents a minute after that. All day, every day, and no monthly fees. Just dial 1010-220.
There you go. Make some sweaters.
CNN's Election 2000 team is there live as rival GOP candidates compete in today's South Carolina primary. Special coverage begins at 7 Eastern on CNN.
On CNBC.com.
CNETnews.com is brought to you by PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft, applications for e-business.
I'm Richard Hart.
And I'm Wendy Walsh.
This is CNETnews.com. Today, the underdog operating system that's a Wall Street darling. As Linux companies explore their best chance to beat Microsoft, where are the best investment opportunities?
Also, a report card on internet banking. We'll see how analysts rate the online options and talk to the CEO of a brand new virtual bank.
Then two Wall Street analysts tell us which tech stocks they're bullish on right now.
This week's newsmaker is a 24-year-old CEO, but he's already worried he's too old for his job.
All next on CNETnews.com. Good afternoon. In the last few months, Linux companies with names like VA Linux and Red Hat Software have wowed Wall Street with huge IPOs.
And with server sales for Linux now increasing 4 times faster than the market as a whole, some think Linux might one day replace Windows.
But to do that, it has to go beyond servers to desktop computers. Right now, only 4% are Linux-based, and analysts don't think Linux can do any better anytime soon.
Our senior correspondent, Hari Srinivasan, is here with some strategies for these companies.
Well, many Linux backers are pinning their hopes on Linux as an embedded operating system, the compact software that powers devices like cell phones, handheld computers, and set-top boxes. It's a market International Data Corporation projects will explode into a $17 billion industry in just 4 years, and one that took center stage at the recent Linux World Expo in New York.
An internet-enabled microwave, a handheld computer which tracks stocks automatically, a portable web access pad. Many analysts believe the embedded operating system inside these smart devices could be where Linux plays its most dramatic role, benefiting manufacturers who are looking for a cheap and reliable operating system to power the devices of the post-PC era. Stacy Quant is an analyst with Giga Information Group.
Linux would appeal to companies like Nokia delivering smartphones because they can customize the solution and have a faster rate of development. They can take the kernel, they can decide what they want to have in it. If they wanted to have certain features, they can have those features. If they don't want certain features, they can take those features out. And then they can put it with a browser and customize it.
Helping manufacturers build custom solutions are a host of Linux companies which have emerged in the past year. Red Hat is already working with Nintendo and Toshiba, and Linux startup Monte Vista Software recently announced a partnership with Kerbango to build the first internet radio powered by Linux. Brian Grega is a VP of marketing with Monte Vista Software. He says Linux is ideally suited for the next wave of internet-enabled appliances.
We're putting Linux on a diet, so we're taking away the pieces that aren't required in the embedded that do reside on the desktop. And we're also able to quickly port the operating system, our distribution of hard hat, to these new processors as they come along.
Other examples of Linux in smart devices are on their way. A handheld prototype from Compaq called ITZY, MPEG's MP3 car audio systems, and NetGem's TV set-top boxes.
A user might use this from their lazy boy in their family room.
Lyle Ball, VP of Marketing at Caldera Systems spinoff Lineo, says it plans to offer a flavor of embedded Linux to manufacturers for use in set-top boxes and net-connected PDAs.
Linux was built from the ground up with networking and interaction with the internet. It takes advantage of the protocols and services that allow these very small devices with very limited memory or storage to have broad networking and internet capabilities.
But analysts say the technical merits are only part of the promise of embedded Linux. Many manufacturers are excited about Linux simply because it's a cheaper operating system to license. Traditionally, manufacturers paid a per-unit licensing fee or a royalty to the vendor for every device brought to market. But some Linux vendors are only charging manufacturers a subscription fee for ongoing support and services. That's an appealing proposition for device makers, says Al Gillen, an analyst with International Data Corporation.
They're going to like not having to pay an extra fee to the company that wrote the software, that's the operating system software which is running on the system. And let's face it, if you've got a device, a cell phone being a good example, they're given away for free. It's a handheld device. If you had to pay a royalty for every operating system that went into every cell phone, it makes the margins all that much thinner for the manufacturers of these embedded devices.
But can these Linux upstarts survive on revenues from support and services alone? Analysts say it's too early to tell. But even within the Linux camp, other revenue models are starting to surface. Lineo is straying from its rivals by charging the more traditional per-unit licensing fee. Monte Vista and Red Hat are relying on revenues from their development toolkits to subsidize offering their versions of embedded Linux for free.
At this point, the biggest hurdle for Linux vendors is not finding profits, but investing the entrenched embedded players. They're up against companies like Microsoft and publicly held Wind River Systems. Its recent acquisition of publicly held Integrated Systems has made Wind River the 800-pound gorilla of the embedded market.
Jerry Fiedler is the chairman of Wind River Systems. Their proprietary embedded OS can be found in products such as Kodak's digital cameras and HP's laser printers. To Fiedler, Linux isn't the holy grail some Linux upstarts are making it out to be.
There's obviously a market here, there's obviously an opportunity, and I think that Linux is certainly one way to approach it, so we'll see some competitors doing that. But at the end of the day, the customer needs to have their problem solved, which is how are they going to build all of these things? And what we can bring to the table is a level of service, support, and a huge variety of software, including a complete value chain with a lot of partners focused around it that Linux just doesn't have yet.
Fiedler certainly seems to know what he's doing. Wind River's revenue swelled to more than $300 million in 1999, and the company currently has a market cap of $2.5 billion. His warnings to his Linux competitors? The open source nature of Linux may turn out to be more of a hindrance than a help.
Ultimately, what you're interested in is building a device in the shortest time and at the lowest cost. And if you go out and start with a free operating system, you're going to get some source code. You're not going to know where all the pieces came from. You're going to have to deal with various licensing issues, which may be unusual in terms of putting them in your device. You're going to have to deal with making sure they all work there, that they all work together, getting them ported there. And ultimately, optimistically, that can take months. So you may start with an operating system that's free, but if what that means is that your project is going to take a few extra months and you miss the market window, ultimately you may wind up with a free operating system and your business shutting down because of it.
Analysts are bullish on the future of Linux inside everything and believe companies developing embedded Linux solutions could be a way to make a backdoor investment in the coming post-PC wave of computerized appliances.
So, smart investors should get in on companies developing for the embedded Linux market?
Well, the analysts we spoke to say Wind River and Microsoft are still very good bets in the embedded OS space. But the upstarts like Lineo and Monte Vista, they've struck OEM arrangements with companies like Motorola. So there's a lot of credibility coming in behind these upstarts.
Now, how vulnerable does this make Wind River? I mean, their CEO didn't seem that concerned about the upstarts.
No, he doesn't seem all that fazed. But Linux does have an army of developers out there, and they could very easily be hired as consultants or contractors for these upstarts, and development could go a lot faster for them. Really, the reason that Wind River bought Integrated Systems was for the people. So I wouldn't be surprised if Wind River didn't come up with their own Linux strategy pretty soon.
Now, what about investing in other Linux companies? I mean, Red Hat has already gone public. What about Monte Vista and Lineo? Any plans for them to go public?
Well, Lineo's sister company, Caldera, said that they are going public. And when we asked Lineo the same question, they said, officially no comment.
Okay. Thanks, Hari.
Now let's take a look at some of the stories making headlines this week on News.com online. The Friday sell-off happened again this week after 4 days of record gains on the NASDAQ. Both it and the Dow plunged, sending many stocks to new 52-week lows. Despite the drop, tech investors remain optimistic that a coming rise in interest rates won't slow profit growth at technology companies. And Microsoft dominated tech headlines this week. The company finally unveiled Windows 2000, its high-end operating system for businesses. The launch event in San Francisco felt more Hollywood than high-tech, with actor Patrick Stewart opening the festivities.
The future of business begins now.
Although Microsoft chair Bill Gates passed the CEO reins to Steve Ballmer a month ago, Gates introduced the new operating system. He called it the company's most ambitious project and said its capabilities signal how the future of digital business will take shape.
Instead of just looking at gross revenue, we'll actually have people who look at the profitability that can be driven out of the internet. And instead of simple transactions, we'll have rich business agreements done in digital form. And so taking all of the richness of business in the pre-digital world and now moving that onto the internet.
Another note on Microsoft, reports are circulating widely that a settlement with the Justice Department may come as early as next week. The search for hackers responsible for last week's shutdown of major websites continued full force this week. Authorities questioned several well-known hackers and tracked down computers used in some of the attacks. On Tuesday, President Clinton met with industry leaders and pledged the government's help in preventing similar attacks in the future.
We know that we have to keep cyberspace open and free. We have to make, at the same time, computer networks more secure and resilient. And we have to do more to protect privacy and civil liberties. And we're here to work together.
Keeping up with Intel just got tougher. The chip maker demonstrated its fastest microprocessor yet at the company's annual Developers Forum in Palm Springs this week. With Chairman Andy Grove looking on, one of its upcoming Willamette processors reached a speed of 1.5 gigahertz. That's almost 50% faster than the high-end processor it plans to release later this year.
98. Come on, let's go. Hey, 1,500.
But Intel competitors are not backing down. On Tuesday, VIA Technologies will introduce a clone of the low-cost Intel Celeron processor, already a source of legal disputes between the two chip makers. And love was in the air for online retailers this Valentine's Day. According to a report from BizRate.com, sales skyrocketed to $462 million from just $103 million last year. And though 91% of buyers were experienced online shoppers, 71% bought from merchants they'd not previously visited. Remember, for the latest tech news, go to news.com online.
This week's news update has been brought to you by Delta 3. Delta 3, bridging the gap between your phone and the internet.
Coming up on CNETnews.com, the IPO forecast,
including an update on one of last week's big flops.
The corporate thing just didn't work for me. I mean, not just the politics, but the whole backstabbing, water cooler chit-chat and all that, well, garbage. So one day I'm online and I find Beyond.com. Before you know it, I got a home office and I'm living life on my own terms. With Beyond.com, I can stay at home and order all the software I need for my business, and it can be downloaded or delivered to my door. I'm as free as I want to be. Oh, hi. I think it's a great arrangement.
You no longer control your company. Your customers have taken over, and they know what they want. Give your customers the information they want so they can work with you, even for you. If you don't pay attention to them, they'll find someone who does. So, how do you like your new boss?
PeopleSoft, applications for e-business.
CNET.com, helping you find the right technology products.
Delta 3, a complete package of high-quality, low-cost internet voice communications worldwide, global PC to phone, unified messaging, and phone-to-phone calling cards.
Your fireplace adds so much to your home, and Gordon's can add even more. Gordon's Fireplace Shop and Home Decor. Selection second to none. Glass screens, fire accessories, high-efficiency natural gas fireplaces, plus home furnishings that will add to the warmth of your home. Portland's finest selection of fireplace screens, gas logs, and gas fireplaces on sale today. Everything for your fireplace. Gordon's Fireplace Shop and Home Decor. Open 7 days a week.
All over America, people are discovering a package of important free information concerning hearing loss. Call the toll-free number right now, and you'll receive a valuable video and informative booklet that show you how hearing aids may help you hear better.
I learned a lot of important things about hearing, including ways to help myself. You know, it's sad going through life not hearing what your family's saying, particularly when you might learn how to help yourself with this free 15-minute video.
Call the toll-free number for your free video information kit today.
This is it. Hillsborough, Chrysler, Plymouth & Jeep's annual inventory reduction.
A giant selection of Voyagers up to $4,000 below MSRP.
As low as $149 a month.
Every Grand Cherokee up to $5,000 off.
As low as $199 a month.
Fully equipped Neons, $99.95.
Just $79 a month.
Pay just $1 down.
And make no payments till June.
Our annual inventory reduction will soon be over.
Hurry to Hillsborough, Chrysler, Plymouth & Jeep.
Broadband wireless licenses that cover 40 million people in 46 markets. 23.5 million shares being offered at $16 to $18, trading under the symbol NXTP. And for the first 3 quarters of '99, the company had revenue of more than $20 million and a net loss of more than $59 million. Broadband and wireless are hot topics, gentlemen, among investors today, and this company intends to use the IPO revenues, or at least a large portion of it, to build out and expand this broadband wireless network. Rick, what do you think?
Well, obviously the company's been spending a lot of money. They had to buy their licenses. They're rolling out a lot of different markets, so there's no revenues right now. But you're competing with AT&T Wireless and Sprint PCS, 2 powerhouses. There's typically 2 or 3 of those companies survive in a given market. I'm going to hold off on Nextel right now. I've already sort of looked at the Sprint and AT&T Wireless affiliates. I'm going to stick with those for now.
Okay, Phil, what do you think?
Well, given they're a leading digital wireless company focused on the smaller mid-sized markets, they may fall underneath the radar. I like their management team from Nextel and McCaw, so I think they're going to be winners.
Okay, so we have a difference of opinion there, I presume? All right, let's move on to our next one. NIKU Corporation. NIKU provides internet-based professional services. We need to mention that CNET is a strategic partner of NIKU. 8 million shares going out, $10 to $12 a share. Trading symbol is NIKU. And revenue for the first 3 quarters of '99, it was almost $3 million with a net loss of more than $13 million. NIKU makes software and runs portals that companies use to manage professional services, such as billing and contracting employees. Phil, let's start with you this time.
Great. As a knowledge management company, I think their sales cycles and implementations are going to be long, as they have been in that industry. Without a clear path to return on investment for companies, it's unclear whether they'll get a lot of sales traction. Because they don't have any sales yet, per se, I think they're a little bit early.
And it'll take them longer to get those sales, you're saying. All right, Rick, do you agree?
I agree with Phil that the company makes me a little bit nervous in terms of rollout and also getting into some of these markets. Whenever you have professional services firms, the companies that are in there first, people get used to using their software and their solutions. And a lot of times, it's difficult to sell those solutions to new companies to really show return on investment.
All right, so we're not getting a lot of thumbs up here today.
On this
okay,
one.
All right. Our final IPO for this week is Intersil Holding. Intersil designs and makes semiconductors for communications, computer, automotive, space, and defense markets. 20 million shares will go out at $18 to $20. Trading symbol is ISIL. And for the first 3 quarters of '99, they had revenue of almost $533 million and a net income of almost $19 million. Integrated circuits accounted for 66%, I think, of Intersil sales in '99. Rick, what do you think?
Well, semiconductor companies have a lot of markets where they can sell products. You got communications, automotive, data processing. This company has some good products for communications. OEMs like Motorola and other wireless companies spend anywhere from $5 to $10 billion a year on these types of devices. So I think The market looks great for this company, and this could be a winner. A great way to play in the wireless market with these semiconductor firms.
Phil, you like Intersil too?
I do. You know, they've got 1,400 patents, a great client list. I think they're core holding in the communications area.
And they've actually got some positive revenue here too.
Oh, yeah.
All right, before we close this episode, I'd like to bring up something that we covered a couple of weeks ago. Phil, you weren't here for that, but I'm sure you were following it. Pets.com went public about a week ago, and it briefly flirted with $14 a share, I think, but today has dropped back down to $7 a share. At the time, you were cautious about it, I should say, Rick.
I was lukewarm on Pets just because they didn't seem to have anything special to offer. It's not proving yet that people are still going to buy a lot of this stuff online. E-tailers have been cool in general. Not to say the long term couldn't be a decent company, but as an investment right now, I would rather go with a bricks and clicks company in the pets area.
Thank you for not saying I told you so.
Okay.
Phil, does this say more about the pet industry online or about IPOs in general?
I think it says something about IPOs and the B2C companies that we're seeing. Actually, 60% of the .com companies that have come out in the last 18 months are below water, below their IPO price.
60%?
That's right. And I think it's centered in the B2C area, like companies such as Pets. You know, they need to build a brand, and that costs a lot of money, and it is not a proven model.
Okay, so it didn't surprise you either. All right. Once again, Rick and Phil, thanks very much.
The IPO forecast was brought to you by Raging Bull, leading the investor revolution.
Up next on CNETnews.com, we'll look at a new scorecard rating online banks and talk to the CEO of a new competitor in this space.
People go through a lot just to get great tasting water. Now there's a better way. Get the Pure Touch faucet with a filter right inside. Pure Touch, exclusively from Moen.
Stanley?
Back when other software companies were turning up their noses at web technology, Lawson Software was busy adapting their products to the web. Later, while everyone rushed to spin e-business applications out of thin air, Lawson's customers were already seeing e-business results. Just about anyone can promise you the world. But Lawson is delivering it. Lawson Software, leading-edge technology without the attitude.
This is a picture of the Grand Canyon. 4 sides flat. This is the Grand Canyon on the internet. 4 sides flat. This is an iPix image. With iPix images, you get to see everything like you're actually there. On the internet, this changes the way we see the world. Or buy a car, plan a vacation, sell a home. You want to see more?
iPix, driving e-commerce with better visual content.
Singapore Airlines' new Raffles class. Business in a class of its own. And now earn miles in the United Mileage Plus program.
Tired of having to wait for the great taste of filtered water? Now there's a better way. Get the Pure Touch faucet with a filter right inside. Pure Touch, exclusively from Moen.
Internet banking is taking off. A new report estimates more than 11 million customers are now banking online, and by the year 2003, that number will jump to 48 million. And .com branches of traditional banks are just as aggressive as pure play cyber banks in trying to lure these new customers. Who's doing the best job so far? Well, an internet banking scorecard released this week from Gomez Advisors shows pure play Security First Network Bank is in first place, but WingspanBank.com, Bank One's internet division, took second, and Wells Fargo rounded out the top 3. The report also revealed that none of the internet-only banks ranks in the top 10 for active web bankers, people who bank online at least once a month. A new internet-only bank called Virtual Bank launched this week. It's hoping to buck that trend. Backed by corporate giants, including General Electric and Daimler Chrysler, Virtual Bank believes its customer service will enable it to leapfrog ahead in a very crowded market. Rory Brown, CEO of Virtual Bank, is here to talk about why he thinks his company has built a better bank. Welcome, Rory.
Good morning.
First off, a lot of people still want to go into a physical bank. How are you going to convince them to go online?
We're not going to try and convince them to go online. We're looking for people who are online already and are interested in doing all their financial services under one roof. And that's our target market, is somebody who already is technology literate.
So how are you hoping to create a kind of personal experience online?
What we've done is every time a new customer joins our bank, we actually assign a client manager to that person who's backed by a team of 3 personal bankers. That client manager is solely responsible for that customer satisfaction. When you join the bank, you end up getting an email with a picture of that private banker and that you can put right on your desktop with all their connections, as well as their email address, phone numbers, and anytime you want to reach them, there's always somebody at our bank who knows your name.
So there's a real human that you know too.
Exactly.
I understand that you're also trying to build affiliate programs within corporations. Tell me about how those partnerships will work.
Well, the driving force behind that is corporations are trying to get all their employees to become more and more internet savvy because they feel that's where the world's going. So what we're allowing them to do is use the latest and greatest banking technology on their company intranets, co-branded, so that the employee feels a sense of loyalty that's similar to what they've experienced historically with the company credit union. Company credit unions have been really successful historically, and in technology companies, they've been so new and they haven't really had the advantage of having that long-term company credit union. So we're bringing the family relationship of personal banking through the internet to the consumer and doing that in the corporate environment.
So in effect, we might see MicrosoftVirtualBank.com.
Yes, but you'd only see one for each industry. So you'd see somebody in the hardware industry, Compaq, Dell, Gateway, or somebody in the software industry, such as a Microsoft, and all the way across the board, because what we feel is that it's a huge employee brand building benefit to say, hey, I bank at my company's virtual bank. And to these high-tech companies, that company brand is the most valuable thing. That they work there because they like the company, they feel they're innovative, they're on the cutting edge, and they're building long-term value.
Of course. Now, one of the things you pride yourself on at Virtual Bank is keeping all your financial services under one roof. You don't farm out anything. How are you able to do that?
We actually operate on a consistent Microsoft platform so that every software application we have operates on the same platform. We utilize Windows 2000 and all the latest technology, and what that allows us to do is have everything under one roof, so when you come to the bank, we know exactly who you are. And you know what you find with any other bank today is they've outsourced everything. So as you become more and more technology literate and you have more and more internet experience, you get more and more concerned about security and privacy. And what we offer to somebody is that when you bank with us, your information goes in the virtual vault and it stays there. We know who you are. The internet allows you to shop competitively, find out if we offer good rates and services, and when you do that, we'll help you do it. And you'll still always come back to Virtual Bank because we don't have the fixed cost structure of all those traditional banks.
Does it make obtaining some of those services easier if you already have all the accounts under one roof?
Exactly. If you come to us one day and apply for a checking account and you decide the next day that I'd like an auto loan, we ask you 3 or 4 questions and we send you a check in the mail because we know who you are. All our systems talk, so we don't spend our time trying to make our systems talk. We spend our time talking to you.
Great. Thanks so much for being with us, Rory. Rory Brown of Virtual Bank. Richard.
Just ahead in the next half hour on CNETnews.com. Stock Talk. Analysts recommend 4 stocks and tell you why they think you should buy. We'll hear what David Corsi's worked up about this week and meet the 24-year-old CEO of eMusic.
Do you know when to place a trade? Do you know when it's time to take your profit? Do you know when to cut your losses? Do you want to know? There is a way. TradeStation 2000i can show you. All you need is a system, your own system that tells you when to buy and when to sell. Then you can test your trading ideas before risking your hard-earned money and trade with confidence based on fact, not greed, emotion, or fear. Knowing when is that simple. Call within the next 15 minutes and we'll send you a free video that will show you in 1/2 hour exactly how you can improve your bottom line when you use TradeStation 2000i to discover when to trade.
To the web. Later, while everyone rushed to spin e-business applications out of thin air,
A limited quantity 5-state collection will be minted first. And now, Collector's Mint, the trusted name in coin collecting, has been authorized to create an uncirculated collector's edition. You could reserve this magnificent 5-coin commemorative set all for only $29.95. Each coin in this collection features an historic state event and crest and is beautifully displayed and protected in this collector's plaque. You'll also get a full-color 50-state fact book. These coins will only be minted for 10 weeks. Reserve your piece of history today. Sorry, due to the limited quantity, only credit cards can be honored. Call now to reserve your coin set for only $29.95. To order, call 1-800-242-4200. That's 1-800-242-4200.
To find abs, everybody wants them, but few ever get them.
That's because most people don't know the real key to developing abs lies in 2 factors: variety in training routines and nutritional insights to reduce fat deposits so you can see results.
New from Fitness Made Simple comes 6-pack abs with John Bastow, the complete abdominal sculpting video. It offers 3 different home workouts and fat-fighting nutritional tips. Call now to order 6-pack abs or order online at our website, fitnessmadesimple.com.
Welcome both of you to here today. Eric, what is your first pick?
First pick is 1-800-Flowers.com. This company is transitioning its strong, tremendous consumer brand awareness onto a successful e-commerce platform, which now generates in excess of 25% of its total sales. Furthermore, through acquisitions and product extensions, the company now faces over a $120 billion market, including floral, home decor, gardening, gift products, and gourmet food.
Why do you like them?
I think this extension of their product line, as well as moving more to the internet, will definitely expand margins and bring them to profitability sometime in the year 2002.
How did they do over the recent Valentine's Day?
Very well, actually. They were the strongest site. Traffic was up over 71% in the week before Valentine's Day. That's due to basically because they've been around for a while. On a Monday, Valentine's Day is difficult to implement for many of these new startup e-commerce platforms, and they've done it very well.
Good. Okay, turning to Mike. You're very bullish on Xilinx?
That's exactly right, Wendy. And as you mentioned, Eric and I do look at different things. Whereas he looks at the company behind the stock, I try and evaluate the stock in the marketplace, and Xilinx has a great chart. It's a chart that technicians just absolutely love. It's been in a nice consolidation range between 40 and 48 for about 2 or 3 months. Actually broke up through that resistance area around 48 in early February. That's when we first listed it on our website in the Tech Take area to e-offering. Since, in a more short-term point of view, the stock has been building a nice little flag digestion pattern, and just recently, on Tuesday, when we mentioned it again, broke above that flag consolidation pattern. It looks like it's headed higher.
You mentioned earlier that you like to look at the psychology of the marketplace. How would you describe the psychology here?
It's really neat because it looks like there has been a meaningful shift in the supply-demand relationship in Xilinx. It looks like there has been a real increase in bullishness in the stock, and as if investors are really ready to bid the stock up. Okay, back to the research side. Eric, what's your second pick?
Second pick is Aspion. This company is moving from a traditional point-of-sale hardware supplier into an emerging ASP company, which is capable of providing really mission-critical solutions to the middle market. These are companies such as retailers and restaurants, which have between $50 and $500 million in sales, which really cannot retain competent in-house IT staffs to manage their networks and their software and hardware needs.
And why do you think this sort of reinvention, because of the ASP trend, will be successful?
Well, they offer these middle market customers an out. A lot of these customers cannot do it in-house, so it gets into a third-party vendor who can supply it on a reasonable monthly recurring fee, as opposed to a strong upfront license fee.
Okay, Aspion. And back to our technical side. What's your last pick?
My last pick would be Hewlett-Packard. And again, that's another stock, not to sound like a broken record, but really had a meaningful change in the supply and demand relationship in the marketplace. Earlier in February, the stock broke above the 118 to 120 level. That told me that buyers were really starting to take control of the marketplace. Again, it formed a nice little flag pattern right ahead of earnings, which often happens. The stock will have a nice run, digest those gains, and just as you were about to get a catalyst, the stock started heading higher again. So we like Hewlett-Packard here as well.
Okay, so basically, if you put a little summary on yours, what would you say?
Based on Aspion, we believe that investors are giving very little credit, if any, to its emerging ASP division, basically valuing the company purely on its traditional point of sale. So that could provide some very nice upside in the future.
And 1-800-Flowers?
It's got a strong brand name that people really should put some value onto, and they've done a great job moving to the internet.
Brand awareness is big on the net.
Exactly.
And for you, a little summary?
You know, we just like to look at the charts and how they're acting in the marketplace, and these are definitely two charts that are acting very favorably. It looks like investors are very excited about the stocks.
Some good picks there. Thanks very much, both of you, for being here. Mike Hurley and Eric Wald.
Thank you.
And Richard, do you and David Corsi have any hot tips?
Yes, Wendy, it's plastics. No, actually, it's Microsoft.
No, mine would be don't cross Bill Gates.
All right, what do you mean?
There's an article, current new issue of Wired magazine just arrived, talks about how everybody in Silicon Valley wants to get Bill Gates and no one's willing to actually do terribly much about it. And there's a reason for that.
We had a taste of this, I think, in the Windows 2000 launch this week. Michael Dell, a few days earlier, said, I don't foresee Windows 2000 as a big motivating factor or selling factor for people to upgrade their computers or software. And then 2 days later, mysteriously, he says, what I really meant was...
Well, Michael was right the first time, but he succumbed, I think, to a phenomenon known as the call from Bill.
Have you ever gotten a call from Bill?
I've got an email from Bill when he was unhappy once or twice. More often, somebody at the agency, one of the Wagner Edstrom people, would call and say, you know, Bill read your story and he's concerned.
Now, a lot of this going on this week, of course, with the release of Windows 63,000.
No, that's Windows 63,000 bugs, Windows 2K, the product.
Now, Microsoft says there are issues, known issues.
Oh, yeah, and drivers are problems, which, of course, is not a big deal unless you need that particular hardware or whatever the driver goes with to work with your new machine.
Okay, now we're going to get a call from Bill. Let's move on to, of course, the ex-chairman of Microsoft. That would be Bill Gates. Let's move on to some ex-Apple employees, Homer, Boych, and Hertzfeld, which does sound like a law firm.
Okay, that's Mike Homer, Mike Boych, and Andy Hertzfeld. Mike Homer, most recently at Netscape, where he made lots of money. Andy Hertzfeld, I think he most recently was at General Magic, where I don't know what he did, but he made a lot of money there.
The company didn't.
And Mike Boych, of course, well known around the Valley, getting together, starting a company in Palo Alto that's job is going to be to try to make Linux as easy to use as the Macintosh or Windows, or as they say, even simpler.
Now, earlier on this program, we talked about the difficulty Linux is having in unseating Microsoft's Windows as a desktop operating system, mostly because the interface is so tough to use. This new company, Easel, you think they'll have a chance at making Linux easy?
I don't know what you'll use it for. I don't see it coming into desktop computing, but you could use it on, say, the next generation of a web TV or in something else like that. You know, my feeling about the long-term future of Linux is that ultimately the hardware manufacturers are going to give it to you free with your computers, and then they're going to charge you to support it. Another way of generating more revenue in a service category, which Compaq and those manufacturers are real excited about. It also gets them a little bit away from Microsoft. Meanwhile, though, there are some real Apple people with Mac OS X who are working with a Unix, Linux kind of variant in order to build their next generation operating system, which takes us all the way back to the next machine.
Now, I know you have some strongly formulated opinions about Linux. We talk about Linux companies, Corel and others from time to time. Have you changed your mind about Linux?
I liked them lots more when the stock prices were twice what they were today for like SCO and Corel. Again, I see it as being a factor in the marketplace. We need another operating system. There are things that Linux does that even the new version of NT, Windows 2000, isn't well suited to do. I don't believe it's going to take over the market. I think it just fills a niche that is needed.
All right, finally, there seems to be a niche still waiting to be filled so that I can file my taxes online securely and without worrying that anyone is going to see my information.
Well, people in your pay bracket will never be able to file online because their returns are far too complex, Richard. But for the rest of us, I've done mine on the computer using tax software. I've never been able to file online. And of course, H&R Block, you know, the people you're supposed to trust, found themselves, I understand, delivering, well, somebody's tax return to somebody else.
In more than one case, too, this week.
And the thing there is, of course, take the higher refund.
And they had, and file on paper probably.
Yes, sir.
They had to shut down about a week earlier because they had troubles with just overloading there. So I'm just amazed that it's taking this long for me to just be able to file online, but maybe soon. David Corsi, of course, the editor-in-chief of PenNet.com. Thanks again for joining us. Up next, we'll meet the CEO of a startup called Startups.com.
The job of leadership today is not just to make money, it is to make meaning. Your people don't want jobs, they want missions. Give them the tools to collaborate, to make a difference. The cost of losing a typical employee is $50,000. But losing an idea, an unknown possibility, well, that, my friend, is losing the war.
PeopleSoft, applications for e-business.
Delta 3, a complete package of high-quality, low-cost internet voice communications worldwide, global PC to phone, unified messaging, and phone-to-phone calling cards. Delta3.com, bridging the gap between your phone and the internet.
CNET, bringing the digital age into focus. Digital cameras, laptops, whatever your technology needs. CNET Auctions is selling, sold. For huge deals with some bids starting as low as $1. Go to CNET Auctions at CNET.com, where you can read reviews and compare prices before you buy. CNET.com, the source for computers and technology.
Power up your home for the holidays with the Quantex PC. All multimedia-rich Quantex SM Series desktops are built to order and powered by the Intel Pentium 3 processor. www.quantex.com. Always working.
I used to get so frustrated when I bought stuff online. What the? Where is their phone number? Then a friend introduced me to Warranty Now. They provide all the traditional services with the convenience of the web. I used to bug my friends all the time. Now, I just buy the Warranty Now service plan right on my favorite website. If something breaks, I can get right on the phone or even the web for help.
If your retailer doesn't offer it, ask for it by name. Warranty Now, the intelligence of protection.
With a tidal wave of young technology companies washing over Wall Street, the word startup has become nearly synonymous with success. The reality is that starting up a company takes a lot of resources and a lot of time, something most entrepreneurs don't have in huge supply. Startups.com might be the answer. Launching March 1st, it's a new web service that aims to streamline everything, facilities to finance, human resources to IT. Donna Jensen is Startup.com founder and CEO. Welcome, Donna. Actually, it's startups.com, right?
Startups.com.
Now, seems to be, you seem to be offering something like startup in a box, right?
That's right.
Although the needs of new companies vary widely, how can you be sure that you can offer the right tools for everybody?
Well, in fact, it's customized. We have a list of a la carte services, and when we work with a startup, we ask them to go through and check off the ones that they truly need, and we advise them as well on the services that we think are going to help them get to market faster.
Any particular type of market that you're looking for or specialize in startups, technology companies?
It's really high technology companies. Most of the companies we've worked with so far have been internet companies, primarily because most of the companies that are receiving venture and angel capital right now are internet types of companies.
Now, this kind of assistance to new companies is a really hot topic among all sorts of different corporations, VCs, particularly incubators. It seems like all sorts of different companies are incubating startup companies. What's the difference between you and these incubators?
Well, incubators are typically a physical space where you have ready capital, plug-and-play infrastructure, and potentially people on staff to provide advice. Startups.com is more of a virtual incubator. We help companies set up their infrastructure in remote locations, not just in one physical location.
A virtual incubator.
It's a virtual incubator. It's really a scalable model where we have process engineered 50 different services and provide expert help on actually setting up the infrastructure, customizing that to each client's needs.
You have an impressive list of backers, both investors and sponsors. Some of those sponsoring companies include Sun Microsystems, IBM, Garage.com. What do these companies stand to gain from an association with Startups.com?
These companies all have special services that are targeted towards startups. Startups.com is really an aggregator of services and products for startup companies to help them move at light speed. When we work with a startup, we will put together their IT infrastructure, their physical infrastructure, their administrative infrastructure, and bring these partners into the projects. And this really just allows them to have greater access to startup companies and to help them move as quickly as possible.
Now, does this mean that some of these established companies I've just mentioned, instead of sending startups to you, will actually be getting startups from you? In other words, you'll send people to them for help in some ways?
That's right. That's right. Startups.com really attracts thousands of startups to our website and to our company who are in need of some type of help.
Now, you're expecting to get most of them through your website, or many of them?
We'll get a lot of leads through our website, but Startups.com really relies more on our connections. We have a lot of people that are involved in this company, from our investors to sponsors to friends of the firm, that are, really sending leads our way.
What's the difference between you and Garage.com?
Well, Garage.com is, first of all, a partner of ours. Garage.com helps companies raise capital, and they start working with companies at a very early stage, before they've actually had any capital put into the company. We start working with companies once they have some angel or venture capital, and we are their partner for setting up their infrastructure.
What effect do you think you might have on a company that is being evaluated by Wall Street? In other words, do you think that if they're using your services, investors will tend to value them more highly?
Startups.com helps companies move much more quickly. So in that they can get to market faster, focus on their core business, and really leverage the right tools to be the most productive that they can be. Yes, I think the company can be valued more highly.
And how much faster do you think you can bring them up to speed?
I think we cut out, we cut the time in half in the very early startup stages. We've done some research and found that 60% of the CEOs that we surveyed are spending up to 80% of their time in the beginning stages just focused on setting up the infrastructure of their company. We come on as their partner and take all of that off their place, enabling them to focus on their core business, get to market faster, and spend their time tying up strategic relationships rather than focusing on picking their furniture or dealing with administrative issues.
All right, the company is startups.com. Donna Jensen, good luck with that, and thanks for joining us today. Just ahead on CNETnews.com, this week's newsmaker wants to be the king of digital music sales.
I guess you could say I know a lot about roller coasters, as I've filmed over 378 rides, steel multi-inverteds, mega woods, danglers. Now I'll transfer these clips, email them to my fan club. Got a big fan club on the web. I love this shot right here. It's just, trust me, I like to get a little bend into it.
Introducing the Sony Vaio Slim Top LCD computer with the iLink interface for easy use with other Sony products. Powered by an Intel Pentium 3 processor, the Slim Top includes digital video editing software, an optional memory stick for easy still image transfer, and an adjustable multimedia display. So get the Sony Vaio Slim Top with the Intel Pentium 3 processor. Now available for as low as $49.56 a month. To order, go to SonyDirect.com or call 1-877-490-SONY.
Nice.
Vaio.
Back when other software companies were turning up their noses at web technology, Lawson Software was busy adapting their products to the web. Later, while everyone rushed to spin e-business applications out of thin air, Lawson's customers were already seeing e-business results. Just about anyone can promise you the world. But Lawson is delivering it. Lawson Software, leading-edge technology without the attitude.
Before you choose awaken to a different world.
CNET.com, helping you find the right technology products.
This week's Newsmaker is sponsored by the Quantex SM series of desktop computers, powered by the Intel Pentium 3 processor. Quantex, always working.
At the tender age of 24, Gene Hoffman has accomplished a lot. He's co-founded 2 startups, managed a college basketball team, and even testified before Congress.
But if he pulls it off, Hoffman's latest project may prove to be his greatest accomplishment to date. Our senior correspondent, Hari Srinivasan, is here to give us the story.
As a CEO and co-founder of eMusic.com, Gene Hoffman aims to be the king of digital music sales and play a pivotal role in the evolution of music distribution. In the process, he hopes his efforts will not only pay off financially, but also give something back to both music lovers and the artists themselves.
Happy birthday to you.
Today is eMusic CEO Gene Hoffman's 24th birthday. And if you think he's a typical youthful high-tech exec, a techno geek who dropped out of college to launch a startup, then got rich quick by selling it, you're right. His entrepreneurial success now affords him upscale hobbies like sailing. But Hoffman describes himself as a charitable entrepreneur.
I've always enjoyed doing businesses that are kind of people empowering.
Put simply, Hoffman's company sells music, but it licenses all the music it sells, unlike competitor MP3.com that continues to do battle with the recording industry. Hoffman contends that eMusic's brand of digital distribution benefits both the artist and the consumer.
One of the neat things about eMusic is that at the same time that we can actually pay artists and labels more money than they've made in the past, we can make music fundamentally easier to use for everybody and let more people enjoy it less expensively.
Hoffman has always been somewhat of an internet freedom fighter. As a junior at the University of North Carolina, Hoffman and 3 friends started a company called PriveNet, which filtered out unwanted web ads and blocked the tracking devices called cookies for internet users. Hoffman sold PriveNet in 1996 to San Francisco-based Pretty Good Privacy, where he met Bob Cohn, a former entertainment lawyer. The two were struck by the grassroots movement of MP3 pirates. Realizing the potential for music on the web, they co-founded Good Noise in January of '98, which later became eMusic.
You've got millions of kids that have decided this is the way they want to use their music. We saw an opportunity that no one else was willing to fill. We could go in, license excellent content, start creating content for that community.
Hoffman is himself an avid music lover who listens to everything from Bush to the Beatles. Last June, he testified before Congress in favor of open standards for music in the new economy at the Joint Economic Committee's High-Tech Summit.
It was fun. It was good to know that we'd been able to get to a point where we, the company, had that sort of respect that we would be asked those sorts of questions and to be able to talk about new economic issues and the issues that concerned us and our growth in the future.
But eMusic's growth ultimately hinges on one crucial factor: having the kind of music inventory that will attract customers. While today the site's catalog is somewhat limited, it has licensed a few well-known artists like Bush and They Might Be Giants, who released their last album exclusively as an eMusic download. Like most e-commerce businesses, eMusic is still in the red, and its stock price has fluctuated wildly since joining the NASDAQ in June of '99, recently trading at a low of less than $8 a share. But that doesn't scare Hoffman, whose favorite pastime is what he calls extreme sailing on the San Francisco Bay.
I love being on the edge of trouble, frankly. And, you learn a lot about who you are and what sort of person you are when those things get tough.
Sailing may have taught Hoffman a lot about navigating the troubled waters of a young e-business, but it's a famous basketball coach who taught Hoffman his leadership style. Hoffman attended the University of North Carolina on a basketball management scholarship, where he worked with NCAA coaching great Dean Smith.
Coach Smith taught me most everything I know about how to manage people, how to be respectable, how to really command the respect you need to be able to lead.
Commanding respect is important when you're a 24-year-old boss, but Hoffman is concerned that he's getting too old to do his job well.
You said a couple times that you think you might even be too old for this business.
Yes.
Why?
It's a marketing thing. Basically, our core music consumer is probably in the 16 to 22 range, and they're setting the taste for what new music is going to be moving forward.
Hoffman's vision of how that youthful music consumer will behave in the coming years may strike fear in the hearts of offline music retailers.
I'm 24 years old. I never bought a piece of vinyl. A 10-year-old, 3 years from now, it may be that downloadable music is such a prevalent piece of the market, especially for new music, because remember, these are the kids that want it this way, that they never buy a CD.
As Hoffman strives to stay in tune with the wants of his young target demographic, he realizes he's missing out on his own youth and the chance to enjoy leisure time with his recent bride, Heather, who he married just about a year ago. But he's confident that his long hours will pay off down the road.
The one thing that I've kind of hang my hat on is that I feel like I'm able to do a lot of this now when I'm much younger. And so when I want to stop and have kids and, you know, start to raise a family, I can do it a little bit slower pace, a little bit more control over what I have to do on a day-to-day basis. So in some ways, I'm kind of rushing to get things done now and enjoy the rest of my life a little bit slower.
Is this tough sailing ahead for him? There was no wind on the water.
That's right. You know, it could be a metaphor for the entire distribution space. I mean, the people with the boats ready for that breeze are going to be the ones that win.
Now, Hari, you mentioned that eMusic is in the red. When do they hope to turn a profit?
Well, he says they hope to be in the black by 2002. In the piece, you saw that the company posted net losses of more than $8 million in its second quarter. But Hoffman points out in that same report, eMusic revenues increased by more than 135% over the previous quarter, and sales of downloadable music overall have gone up almost 400%. So Hoffman's confident that there's a big potential profit out there, and ultimately it's going to pay off.
Yeah, but it also means it's a crowded space, and he has to be worried that some big major media company is going to embrace digital distribution with a big library.
Well, you know, as most small companies in huge spaces say, that it's going to be great for business. If AOL comes along and makes digital downloading, you know, something that a lot more people are comfortable with, ultimately he's hoping that this translates into profits for his business. And we should add that they bought, in November of last year, they bought RollingStone.com, so he's hoping to leverage that brand out over time as well.
All right, thanks, Hari. Now, before we go, let's recap some of the key information from today's show. First of all, IPOs. Our two experts, Phil Sanderson and Rick Spence, gave a thumbs up, a firm thumbs up to Intersil. Both gave thumbs down to a company called Niku, and Nextel Partners, the broadband wireless infrastructure company, got a mixed review. Wendy?
Okay, in our stock talk, our research analyst was very high on 1-800-Flowers and Aspion. Our technical analyst liked HP and Xilinx. Hari.
And Linux-wise, though the companies get all the hype for being in the server market, really the place to watch might be the embedded operating system market.
Thank you all for joining us, and remember, if you missed any part of this program, you can watch it online at news.com if you have a high-speed connection.
We'll see you next week.
CNETnews.com was brought to you by PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft, applications for e-business.
CNET, bringing the digital age into focus. 24 hours a day on the web, CNETnews.com is breaking the big stories on the new digital